people judging us, right? So today, what I'm going to be covering is why we are afraid of being judged, why it's not helpful, and how to reframe fears of judgment so that you can live your damn life and not be constantly worried about what people think about you. So, that is what we are talking about today. Now, why we're afraid of judgment? Well, if you're a human being, then is a part of your nature. Is a part of our nature to be afraid of judgment. The reason being that if we are judged, then the consequences could be really grave. So here's what I'm talking about. Um, Imagine hundreds and thousands of years ago, we were living in our small communities and we had to hone the skill of making judgments about other human beings to understand if they were safe or if they were an enemy. And so, if we're in a community and another human approaches, we have to be really good at judging someone quickly. And if they're safe, then we can let them in. If they're like us, if they look like us, if they behave like us, they're allowed into our community. Now, once you're in a community, we need community to survive as human beings. We're social creatures, right? If your community judges you negatively, the consequences is that you are booted out of the community, you are ostracized. And as humans, we die without that community. It makes us very hard. Makes it very hard for us to survive, especially hundreds and thousands of years ago, when we had to survive in those. We need those communities to literally live and get our food and warmth and love and all that type of stuff. Now, now in our modern day, we still have that deep fear that if we are judged, the consequences are potential death. And so, why would you not be afraid of being judged? Whereas now, the reality is that we probably won't die if we're judged, but it is useful for us as humans to keep that fear alive, but just a little bit, right? We don't need to have it so activated that we fear that if we wear a crop top, then everyone's going to be like, "Oh my god, you need to be removed from the human race." Oh my god, because that's not really the reality, right? Um, so everyone experiences this, even if you are super confident, even if you have lower self-esteem, everyone in some way fears being judged because it's just part of the human experience. Now, how much that affects you is different for every person. And a lot of the times, when you do have lower self esteem or you're not happy with your body, that fear of being judged can be a lot higher versus for someone who feels comfortable in their body and they know that they're worthy. So, why it's not helpful to be so afraid of people judging us? Well, it's a losing game, right? Um, no, because no matter who you are or what you do, people are always going to judge you. I don't know if that's news to you, but you're always going to be judged. And we don't want to fall into this habit or this pattern of changing ourselves or not living our authentic life for fear of what others think. Because this is what it's like, right? Um, Imagine if you had a child and they come home from school and they said, I'm being bullied because I have big ears or whatever, for example. So I'm being bullied because I have big ears. Now, would you say to that child, well, you know what, child? That bully's right. Yeah, you do have big ears. And actually, do you know what? I think we should do something about it. I think that you should always wear a hat, or you should, in fact, let's get surgery to reduce your ear size or whatever. That is not going to be your first response when a child says that they are being bullied. You're going to say, it's not cool that the bully is bullying for someone because they are different. Now, a lot of the times, unfortunately, when it comes to having a fat body, we are told, well, you should listen to the bully. Maybe you should lose weight, then you won't get bullied. Versus saying, the bully needs to change their behavior. You don't need to change your body. The bully needs to change their behavior. So in some ways, we can recognize that it's not okay to pander to what a bully wants from us. But in other ways, when it comes to living in a fat body, we're like, well, I should become thin. Then I won't stand out. I should conform in whatever way. Then I won't stand out. Then I won't be bullied. Versus people who are judging others need to fucking stop, right? Which is what needs to happen. So what's the alternative? What is the alternative? Hide forever? Never be your real self? Never express yourself in ways that are authentic to you? Do you want to always be really vanilla, really really milk toast, be a smaller person in all the different ways that you could be, just so someone that you went to school with on Facebook doesn't notice that you look a bit different? Do you want to be 80 years old and think, you know what? Chad never did, comment that I put on weight. I'm so pleased that I lived my whole life being smaller, not showing the world who I am, doing all these things to fit in because Chad, that knob that I used to go to school with all those years ago, he was never offended by my appearance. He never saw a picture of me on Facebook and said, oh my God, she looks fat. I'm so pleased I lived all of my 80 years of my life, or however you're going to live, not offending Chad. Or, whoever it is that you're worried about their judgment. Fuck Chad. Fucking he can suck my dangling tits. I don't care if Chad thinks that I have put on weight, or if what I'm wearing is not okay, or if my hair looks shit, or whatever. I'm not going to live my life for Chad or Karen or anyone who is judging me in that way. So what is the solution? Well, something that has brought me comfort. This might not bring you comfort. I mentioned it before, but you're always going to be judged, okay? Positively and negatively. No matter what you do, you're always going to be judged. And there's something that someone told me, I can't remember who told me, but this is years ago, and it's really stuck with me, that in life, 10% of people will love you. 10% of people will hate you. And 80% are going to be somewhere in the middle. They think, yeah, you're all right, or oh yeah, you were that person I met one time, or just don't even think about you that much. And so no matter what you do, there's always going to be people being like, yes, you're amazing, you're awesome, you're great. And there's always going to be people like, I can't believe that you're wearing that. Oh my God, have you put on weight? Oh my God. There's always going to be people like that. So do you want to be judged, knowing that you will be judged? Do you want to be judged for a fake version of you? Or do you want to be judged for an authentic version of you? So you can, if you want, play small, constantly diet, try and fit in and not stand out in any way that you want. You can do that, absolutely. But what consequences does that have for you, for your happiness, for your self-esteem? What consequences does that have for those around you? What consequences does it have for the world? Do we need more people who are shrinking themselves, who are making themselves more palatable for consumption by others? Do we need more of that in the world? No, we don't need more of that in the world. We need more people who are like, yeah, I might be a little bit different. Yeah, I might be fat. I might be a little bit fat or a medium fat or a super fat person. And I'm going to go out in the world and, fuck what other people think. Um, and as well, thinking about, 10% will love you, 10% will hate you. Do you want the people who love you to be those who love you for a inauthentic version of you? Or do you want those 10% of people in the world who you come across that love you to be loving the real, radical, messy, authentic version of you? Right? I used to surround myself with people who I would be such a people pleaser and I would pander to them and I would be very non-offensive and if they said they didn't like something I would change it and those who loved me for a version of me that wasn't real because really I wanted to be myself. And when I did become myself and was loud and proud, some of those people I lost. Some loved it and was like, "Oh, well, I love this newer version of you where you are, more yourself." So, and it's beautiful when you know that someone loves you and cares for you and thinks that you're cool, for exactly who you are, like warts and all, because none of us are perfect people, right? Yeah. So, in this, let's think of a scenario. You're walking down the street and someone is judging you. So imagine if I don't know, you're walking down the street, you think, okay, I'm going to wear a crop top for the first time, or I'm going to wear something which is really form fitting, or I'm going to do my hair in a way that is different, or I'm going to put on those false eyelashes, or whatever it is that is making you feel a little bit self conscious. So imagine if someone judges you. So think about this, like, do you know them? Are they going to be thinking about you a day from now? Are they going to be like, oh my God, I saw a person on the street and they were wearing a crop top and it was really inappropriate or it was really horrible or whatever. A day from now, are they going to be thinking about that? Or is it just a fleeting judgment? A week from now, are they going to be thinking about you? And if they are, does it matter? Do you know these people? Is it going to have an impact on your life? Is them approving of you or not approving of you going to change your self-worth, your inherent self-worth as a human being? Your self-worth is unchangeable, right? No matter what you do, who you are, what you wear, how much you weigh, you have worth as a human being. We all do. And so if that one person is judging you negatively on the street, some random stranger, does that have an impact on your self-worth as a human being? No. It can feel like it, right? It can feel like it if someone is like, "Ooh, look at you, you're whatever." It can feel like our worth is diminished, but that's not actually the reality. Also, think about it this way. You presuming, because we don't know what they're thinking, right? Unless they are a complete knob and they're like, "Ooh, fat person," or whatever. If you think that you see someone looking at you or looking at you in a weird way or whatever, um, you presume that they are thinking something negative. Okay? What you're doing is passing a judgment on them. You are judging them. You are presuming that they are there looking at you, thinking negative things about you. How do you know this? You don't. You're making a negative judgment about them. So you're hoping you don't want other people to have negative judgments about you, where you're in that moment, if you're thinking, presuming that they're having a negative judgment about you, you're judging them. You are doing the exact thing that you don't want others to do to you. And you're projecting your own judgment upon them. Whereas they could just be sat there being like, oh, there's a person. Oh, it's a nice day today. Oh, I really need to do a poo or whatever, right? And you've projected onto them that they are like, ooh, look at that person. Oh, they're so fat, or ooh, they're so whatever. And it might not be based in reality. So notice your own judgments. And when you judge others, because we all judge all the time, even though, sometimes you like to think, oh, I'm above that. But that's not true. Notice your own judgments and how long they last. So when you see someone different and you make a quick judgment about them, are you thinking about that person later that day or a week later? Are you telling your friends, oh my God, I saw someone with this weird haircut in the mall 2 months ago. It was hilarious. No, your friends would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? It won't even be in your brain because you notice someone with a weird haircut and you're just like, oh, there's someone with a weird haircut. Not a haircut that I would have, but, whatever. And then it's gone from your head. Or maybe you might think about it again another time, but, a week or 2 weeks or a year later, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that one person with a weird haircut. It's just it's useless information, right? And so if someone is judging you and they're like, oh my God, look, there's a fat person, 10 minutes later, they're probably just like, oh, I really fancy an ice cream, or oh, what am I going to have for dinner, right? Um, so when I did my TEDx talk, if you don't know, I have a TEDx talk. It's amazing. You should go check it out. When I did my TEDx talk, it was a big thing, right? So I was speaking on stage in front of 2,600 people, and then it was going to be filmed. It was filmed, and then it was going to be put onto the internet. I listed out the worst case scenarios of what could go wrong, like in regards to people judging me. And so I thought, okay, well, I could forget my words. Well, if I forget my words, can I survive that? Yeah, that's okay. I've seen other people forget their words, and I know that someone had forgotten their words at a TED talk at that same venue a couple of years before, and what they did was they edited out all the bits that she forgot in the video, and then when they put it on the video online, no one could tell. The people in the audience were like cheering her on and being like, you can remember, and she managed to get her notes and blah blah blah. So 2,600 people in the audience might have been like, oh, it would have been better if she had remembered her words, or whatever they thought. But on the internet, which is where the real big audience were, they had no idea. And so now my TEDx talk, I think, has 140,000 views. So if I had forgotten my words, 2,600 people who were in the live audience would have noticed, but the majority of people who saw my talk or see my talk, 140,000 people, would never have known. I didn't forget my words, but that was something that I thought, okay, what is a bad thing that could happen? Another bad thing that could happen was maybe I'll burst into tears and run off the stage. I don't know why, but that could happen. I could just run off the stage and be like, I can't do this. Could I survive that? Yes, I could survive that. I wouldn't have a TED talk, but maybe I could try again. It could be a learning experience. But the absolute worst thing I could think of, like the absolute worst thing that I could think of, is what if I shit myself on stage? That is the worst thing, like the worst outcome that I could have thought of for my, outcome of me doing my TEDx talk. So, what if I did shit myself? Well, I would be really embarrassed. The audience would have been like, what the fuck is going on? And I would have had to, I don't know, shuffle off stage or pretend it didn't happen or something. I don't know. But could I survive if I shit myself on a TEDx stage and have 2,600 people watch me shitting myself? And maybe then it would be put on the internet and have people watching me shit myself. Could I survive? Yeah, probably. I could probably survive. And what would happen is that after I'd got over the embarrassment and the awful feelings and all that type of jazz, what I would be left with would be a hilarious story about that one time I tried to do a TEDx talk and then I shit my pants on stage. It would be great. It'd probably be more impactful for my life than actually doing my TEDx talk, right? It would make my life more colorful and interesting. And yes, it would be awful, but I would also receive a ton of compassion from others. And of course, yes, I'd get judgments. And yes, there might be pictures of me on the internet being like, LOL, this girl shit herself on stage or whatever. Um, but I would survive and it would be fine. In the end, it would be fine. And people would forget about it. But I didn't shit myself. The TEDx talk went almost perfectly. Um, so think about what you're afraid of when you're afraid of people judging you. What is the worst outcome? Like, are you worried that you're going to walk down the street and then like a gang of teenage boys are going to be like, oh my god, LOL, you're so fat. Oh my god, there's a fat person. Look at them walking around all fat. Like, is that your worst fear? No, is your worst fear that you're going to be wearing like a crop top and short shorts and then you fall over and a crowd of people are surrounding you and laughing at you? Like, is that your worst fear? So what is your worst fear when it comes to the fear of judgment? Is it that you fear that everyone's going to see you being a fat person and be like, oh my god, I can't ever talk to that fat person. Ooh, disgusting. I don't want to associate with them. Like, what is your fear? What is your actual worst fear? And could you survive that? Is there any benefits to that? Like, could that make you stronger? Maybe not. Maybe it would just be a terrible experience. Not saying that, every shitty thing has to be something that you grow from, but um, do you think you could survive? Do you think you could live? Can you balance out the pros and cons of um, being your authentic self and living in the world in a way that is true to you versus the risk that that most terrible thing that you're afraid of could happen and people could judge you? Like, what is more important for you, to live authentically or to minimize any risk that anyone could judge you negatively? um and those things could happen. Absolutely, you could, fall over and then have a gang of teenage boys like being like, oh, you're so fat and disgusting, or I don't know. That could happen. It's probably not gonna happen, but it could. But if it did, can you survive? Probably, right? Something that Brene Brown says that I just absolutely love and it really resonates with me is that shame cannot survive the light. So self compassion dissolves shame and judgment, okay? So, what is it that you are afraid of? Speak that out. Tell people. And that shame that you're feeling around how people could be judging your body, like, I'm afraid people could be looking at my legs or my arms, or they thinking that that I'm horrible or whatever. Just speaking that out, even just to yourself, or journaling on it, and giving yourself compassion, it will dissolve a lot of that shame that you are feeling. So here's an example. So recently, maybe a month ago, I was in this group discussion. Like a group of us were talking about overcoming coronavirus and dealing with like the upheaval in our lives and whatnot. And we did like 12 weeks of meeting every week. Anyway, so I'm like I think quickly and I'm able to talk quite quickly, and obviously I'm not shy. And so whenever it'd be a group discussion and it'd be like, okay, so what do people think about this one topic? immediately I would always know what I wanted to say, and other people would not want to speak and would kind of hold back. And so I'd always be like, well, I'm ready to go if, no one else, I'd always hold back a little bit to see if anyone else wanted to go first, but often I'd be the first one to talk. And so, after I'd speak, I'd be like, they all hate me. I was, thinking they all hate me. They think that I'm bossy. They think that I'm overtaking the discussion and it's all about me, and I'm not gracious enough to let someone go first. And I was sitting there not listening to what the other people were saying because I was thinking, oh my God, they all hate me. And so at the end of it, I said, hey, because we're doing like wrapping up of the discussion and whatnot, said, hey, I just want to share something that I'm feeling is that I had this judgment that I presumed that all of you hate me because I speak first. And as soon as I said it, I was just like, this is silly, right? This is like, really? And even before people were like, well, no, that's not true, just by speaking it and saying it, that, hey, I'm worried that you're judging me. I'm judging you, judging me. I'm judging that you're judging me, but you're probably not judging me. Anyway, and a lot of people were like, actually, no, we love it that you go first because it gives us time to think, and we need more time to process and things like that. Yeah, not that I would always go first, but I'd be one of the first. And so that fear was dissolved just by speaking it, even before people reassured me and said, no, we like you, speaking up. um, just by speaking it and being vulnerable, thinking, oh, I think you all hate me, and it kind of dissolved it. So can you speak it, that fear, that 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 fear of judgment, what you are really afraid of, to yourself, to others, and see if it dissolves? And have faith in humanity just a little bit, just because sometimes we can't have faith in humanity, but have faith in humanity a little bit, because yes, of course there are total knobs in the world that are going to be like, lol, a fat person. But more and more in society we are realizing that laughing at people who are different or judging people who are different isn't cool, really. Like, I used to be an adjunct professor at the University of British Columbia in Canada. So I'd be teaching, 19, 20-year olds, 21-year olds, and their perspective on the world was so uplifting and incredible and inclusive, and so different from what I was like when I was at university. I was just like, fucking whatever. But they were, sensitive towards social justice issues. And so that is a world that is coming up, and not, obviously not all of them, but so many of them, that I was just like, whoa, young people are cool. Like, I want them to be my friends. And even, older people too. So, Simon Cowell on American's Got Talent, or Britain's Got Talent, or whatever. Simon Cowell, he's been doing this stuff for years, right? Do you remember, or you might not remember, but in his earlier days, he would be the one that when someone who came on stage who looked different, he would be smirking and laughing and being like, well, this person is going to be shit because they didn't fit the stereotype of what a pop star would look like. And then he had to eat his words many a times when actually the person who looked a bit different had an incredible talent. Like, one person that I'm thinking about is Susan Boyle. Susan Boyle was I think she was Welsh, but she was on, I think, Britain's Got Talent, or a show like that. So she is an older woman, kind of, mumsy, grey perm, that type of thing, and her personality is more. She has autism. At the time, we didn't know that. She just came across as a little bit more quirky or shy or whatever. Anyway, and she, Simon Cowell, is like a famous clip of Simon Cowell being like, well, she's going to be shit and look at her sort of thing, and giving eye rolls. And then she sings I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis, and then everyone was like, holy shit, she can sing. And so Simon Cowell used to be like that. And I've been watching America's Got Talent recently, and he is the opposite. Every time someone comes out and they say, I can't do this. I've been told that I can't sing because I'm fat, or I've been told that I can't do this thing because my body is different, or I look, I'm different in some way. Simon Cowell is always says, we don't do that here, and we don't judge people by what they look like. And I've seen him say it like almost every episode, and I'm like, Simon Cowell, you have changed your tune. And the reason is because it's not cool to shame people for being different anymore. Now, not everyone has got that memo, obviously. Not everyone has got that memo, but a lot of people have. And so have a bit of faith in humanity that, not everyone, if you walk down the street and you look different, not everyone is going to be like, holy fucking shit, that look at that disgusting person. Most people are probably not, right? Or probably thinking, cool, it's nice to see some diversity. There's this thing that I wish I could find like the original thing, but it's like a sentiment, or a quote that I've remembered for years that I thought was kind of funny. And I can't find the original one, so this is me butchering this idea. But the idea is that in your 20s, you worry about people judging you. In your 30s, you don't care that people are judging you. And in your 40s, you realize that they were never really thinking about you in the first place. And I love that because it's so fucking true, right? It's so true, like not necessarily the timeline, but really that people aren't necessarily thinking about us as much as we think they're thinking about us. Of course, we think that people are spending 24 hours a day thinking about, what we're doing with our lives, but really it's probably just a fleeting moment, if at all. And we're all in our own heads. So we're walking down the street and someone looks at us funny and we're thinking, oh my God, what are they thinking? Are they judging me? Oh my God, do they think that I look horrible? Whatever. And that same person is walking down the street and they see you, and maybe you look funny at them because they happen to look funny at you, and they're thinking, oh my God, what is my hair look shit today? Have I got something on my face? What's wrong with me? And you're both, both of us are just like, oh my God, does the other person think that I look awful? Do they hate me? And we're just having the same fear. And, most people are not even thinking about you. Sorry to break it to you. I know I can't handle it. I want people to be thinking about me all the time. Um, but the reality is people are not necessarily thinking about you or judging you as much as you might believe. So a way to overcome this is to personally try to stop judging as much. Now I know that's hard, and being judgmental it's a normal thing, right? It's a part of us as humans. We need to judge others to see if they are a part of our community, if they are safe. We have to look at someone, say if you're walking down the street and it's a dark alley and you see someone walking towards you, you need to judge them quickly to know, are they safe? Am I going to get mugged? Whatever, right? And so forgive yourself for the fact that you are judgmental. We're all judgmental. We have to be, but our level of judgment, we can try and tamper it down a little bit. So something that I've noticed is the most judgmental people that I've known in my life are also the ones that presume everyone is thinking awful things about them all the time, because they're thinking bad things about others all the time. And so they're like, well, if I'm thinking shit things about people, then they must be thinking the same about me. But it doesn't work like that, because not everyone is super judgmental. A lot of people try to work on being a better person. And if you're here, then I know that that's you. Like, you obviously are striving to not judge people for being in a fat body and all that type of jazz. So keep working on that and keep doing the good stuff that you're doing there to try and decrease the amount that you judge. And when you're noticing that you're judging, trying to grab that. So if you're looking at someone being like, ooh, their hair looks shit, or whatever it is that you're thinking, trying to catch that thought and being like, okay, so what's going on here? Why am I having that thought? How is this thought serving me? What is going on here? And trying to show that person some compassion of what their life could be like, and what is going on with them, and is them having a haircut that you've decided is a little bit different, um, something that defines them as a person, and just explore it, right? So the next thing is to practice doing the things that you think that you're going to get judged for. Okay, so whatever it is that you think that you're going to get judged for, the only way to overcome that is to do it and see what happens. So the first time is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be weird. Say the example of wearing a crop top or whatever, wearing a crop top, and then, even just feeling the breeze on your belly, you'll be like, what, this is weird. It will feel uncomfortable. And walking by someone, you're going to be thinking, what are they thinking? They're thinking this is really inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. But then the more that you're exposed to doing that, the more you'll realize that you're just walking around and no one is really saying anything. It's not that big of a deal. And if they do, then they're a knob. So the more you do it, the more normal it's going to be. And the less that you're going to be in your head thinking, oh my God, they're thinking this, they're thinking this, they're thinking this. So if you want to do something new in your life, like love your fat body or stop talking about diets, and you don't because you're worried about what your family is going to think, what your loved ones, what they're going to say, and how they're judging you, I challenge you to challenge that judgment that you're making about them. A lot of times we think, oh yeah, our family, I know what they're like. If I come in and say, hey, can we stop talking about diets? They're going to be like, no, I love dieting, screw you. And they could do that. But we don't know until we try it, right? We don't know. If you went to your loved ones and you said, hey, I've hated my body my whole life. I've dieted and it's not worked. And so I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try to work on loving my body and to stop dieting because it's not helpful for me. Can you help me out and not talk about dieting in front of me? Now, most loved ones will try to understand where you're coming from, and to help you with this new request. Most people will, because most people are not monsters, right? However, some will not, because they've known you as a certain way for your whole life, potentially, and you saying, oh, I'm going to change it all up and do something different, it's threatening for them inherently, right? So if someone that you love is judging you vocally, expressing their negative judgments about you, then you can't stop that, right? We can't stop people thinking what they're thinking. If only we could. I'm constantly being like, I wish I could just jump into your brain and change the way that you're thinking. But it doesn't work like that, right? So we can't change the way that they're behaving or thinking, but what we can do, what we can control, is the way that we respond, the way that we take care of our mental health. And so if a loved one is like, oh, you're so fat and horrible, and oh, you should go on a diet and all that type of stuff, then you need to do something. So that doing something could be setting a boundary with them. It could be minimizing contact with them. It could be doing something to protect your mental health. So not saying anything, or going to a different room, or putting your headphones in, or whatever. And it could be ending the relationship with them. It could be any of those things, right? So you can't control how other people judge you. You can only control how you respond to those judgments. which sucks. I know. Why can't we mind control others? It's so annoying. Um, so you have control in the way that you respond to judgments. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to minimize contact with them? Are you going to set a boundary and say, hey, we don't talk about that in front of me? Are you going to protect your mental health in different ways? Are you going to cut them from your life? All options, okay? So, in a nutshell, in a nutshell, people will judge you. I know. I'm sorry. People will judge you, but not nearly as much as you think, because most people in the world strive to be better human beings. Not all of them, but a big chunk. Judgments mean nothing about you and your core value as a human. Would you rather be a vanilla version of yourself, a quieter, a smaller version of yourself, um, so that when you're 80 years old, you can look back and be like, I'm so pleased people judged me less because I pretended to be a different version of myself? Or do you want to be the 80-year-old with the pink mohawk and the don't give a fuck attitude? Because you have that decision, you have that choice right now. You see on the I see on the internet all the time, people, there would be a cool picture of a granny like with a pink mohawk or whatever, and people are like, I want to be like that when I'm older. And I always think, why don't you be like that now? Like, why do you have to wait until you're older to be like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me? Why is it that you have to wait? Because you might not ever get there. And when you get there, why do you presume that when you get old, all of a sudden, the way that you've behaved your whole life, on all the fears of judgments that you've held and not worked on, are just going to suddenly dissolve? Guess what? They won't. You have to do it now to be able to be that I don't give a fuck old person who, shaves their head and rides a motorcycle or whatever it is that you want to do, or just like gives the finger to diet culture. So if you're like, oh yeah, like goals of when I get older, why not goals of what you're doing right now? Right? Right? So hopefully that has been helpful for you, and has given you a few different perspectives on what you can do about judgments, and dealing with them and surviving and knowing that you can survive and all that type of jazz. And go to the show notes. We'll go to, like, on the in the comments below here. Go to the comments below here, and you'll notice that I have got a free resource for you. So go to the resources, the Fierce Fatty Friends Facebook group, and inside the Facebook group you'll find links to get my Fierce Fatty Body Love Roadmap. So it's going to give you all the steps to love your body. So go join the group, go get that roadmap, and let's continue this conversation and continue busting down our fear of judgment. And no shame, we all have it, right? Yeah, so thank you for hanging out with me today. I so appreciate it, and I will see you inside the Facebook group. Okay, see you later, crocodile.